If you are in your 40s and 50s, you are probably wondered why your kids are glued to the TV watching cars zoom in and out at 300 km per hour. But here is a surprise. F1 fan base in India has exploded, and what used to be 38 million fans now has crossed 60 million. And among 16 to 40-year-olds in major cities, interest has shot up to 43% as of 2025. Today, F1 isn't just a sport, it's a culture. A generation that doesn't miss a single race. They watch cars fighting for milliseconds on track, but what somebody doesn't see is the real race behind the race. The race that moves 1,200 tons of equipment across 5 continents, 24 races, brutal back-to-back triple headers, impossible deadlines, and custom rules that would make anyone sweat, all with zero room for error. And in today's episode of Logistically Speaking, we will go inside the logistic engine of Formula One, the tech, the planning, and what every other industry can learn from this obsession with precision. Picture this. On Sunday night, the moment the race ends in one country, another race instantly begins behind the scene. On Monday morning, jets are already in the air, trucks are on the highway, and sea containers are somewhere between ports, all to make sure the next race, that is the Grand Prix, happens on the other side of the planet just a few days later. This isn't a shipment. It's a rolling global production line. It's F1's traveling factory, the fastest supply chain on earth. In 2025, Formula One runs 24 races across 21 countries and 5 continents. Per race, as much as 200 metric tons of equipment moves, that is cars, engines, spares, pit wall, garages, IT, broadcast, hospitality, even the padlock club furniture. And it has to be exactly at the right padlock bay, at the right hour, in the right sequence, otherwise the race simply cannot start. Let me break down how this game of speed moves, because this is where the real genius lies. Formula One uses the multimodal 3-layer system, that is ocean, air and road, each with a very specific role. Ocean freight is a slow, heavy, sustainable backbone, non-critical kit, garages, structures, hospitality suites, fan zones, travel in containers by sea. Teams don't send one set. They send 5 to 6 identical sets that leapfrog each other across the calendar. So a sea container that leaves Europe for China might next appear in Miami, then later in Singapore or Baku, following a carefully choreographed rotation. Air freight is the heartbeat. Cars, power unit, critical space, telemetry servers, as well as Formula One's central broadcast equipment fly on chartered cargo aircraft. As soon as the race ends, teams do a pack-down pit stop. The most critical gear is created within hours, and by around 10 a.m. on Monday, most of the priority cargo is already on air to the next venue. Road freight is the capillary system. Trucks move containers from ports and airports to the track, and in Europe, carry almost the entire show from circuit to circuit. For the European leg, up to 300 or 400 trucks run, often with 2 drivers each, so that they can drive almost non-stop, weaving through narrow streets in Monaco or overnight routes between Imola, Barcelona and beyond. Every move is a trade-off between 4 variables: speed, volume, cost and sustainability. The art of F1 logistics is choosing the right mode for the right cargo at the right time, again and again, 24 times a year. Now, zoom out from a single race and look at the entire season like a relay race. The calendar starts with pre-season testing and early flyaway races. Think Bahrain, Australia, China and Japan. While race 1 is happening, containers for race 4 might already be on the ocean somewhere. While the cars are racing in Japan, sea freight is quietly making its way to Qatar or the Americas. The real pressure comes from doubleheaders and tripleheaders, that is, Grand Prix races held on back-to-back weekends. For example, equipment might go from China to Japan to a Middle East race and then to Miami shortly after. There is not enough time to finish one race, then start planning for the next one. Multiple races are always in different stages of pack down, transit, customs, and build up simultaneously. By the time the last container from Abu Dhabi is unpacked, planning for the next season is already in motion. In other words, Formula One logistic is not just a project, it's a continuous year-long global logistic flow. All of this would be difficult even if every race was in the same industrial park. But it's not. Each location has its specific requirements and its own problems. First comes the unique local condition. Monaco's street circuit has famously tight roads and almost no staging space. Trucks wait outside the city holding area and are called in one by one in a pre-planned sequence just to avoid gridlock. Las Vegas create a similar challenge on the strip. Special holding yards have to be created so that hundreds of trucks don't paralyze the city. Then the customs and regulations. Every shipment needs precise documentation and in some countries, multiple layers of clearance, especially for controlled items like fuel or specific electronic components. Something that clears easily in one country may require special approvals, inspections, or bonds in another. One mistake in paperwork can delay a container, which can delay the garage build, which can affect on-track efficiency. And lastly, external disruptions. During COVID, ocean freight disruptions meant some teams had parts stuck at sea before the Australian Grand Prix. It took dedicated charter flight and 100 plus people working around the clock to rescue the schedule. Geopolitical issues and route closures like carriers avoiding the Suez Canal forced rerouting via alternate ports such as Jeddah, followed by long trucking legs into Middle Eastern races. The lesson here is that this is not just about moving boxes. It is about building a risk-aware, highly flexible network that can absorb shocks and still deliver a live global event on time. So, what technology actually keeps F1 logistics in sync? Number one, advanced planning and simulation tools. Logistics partners use sophisticated network design and scheduling software to map the entire racing calendar a year in advance. They simulate multimodal routes, lead times, custom windows, and capacity constraints, especially running what-if scenarios on different calendars, race sequences, and freight split between sea and air. Number two, real-time tracking and control towers. Each crate and container is tagged and tracked with data feeding into central control tower dashboards. These systems monitor the position of shipments by mode and lane, identify delays, and trigger contingency plans such as switching from ocean to air or rerouting around closed routes. It is similar to a mission control room but for logistics. Number three, standardized modular equipment design. F1 teams and the championship itself design infrastructure to be modular. Garages, pit walls, timing rooms, hospitality unit all break down into standardized flight cases and containerized module. This makes packing, loading plan, and site build-up highly repeatable. The same process can be executed 24 times a year with the small local adaptation instead of reinventing the wheel in every country. Number four, data-driven pit stop thinking. F1 already uses data analytics and sensors to run 2-second pit stops, and the same philosophy is applied to logistic processes. Teams analyze timestamp for pack down, loading, and build-up, identifying bottlenecks and continuously removing seconds and minutes from each task. Over a season, shaving even 15 minutes of pack down at each race compound to extra buffer time between flights, trucks and custom deadlines. Number 5. Sustainability tech and biofuels. With a net zero 2030 commitment, F1 and its partners are experimenting with a biofuel trucks in Europe, efficient aircraft like Boeing 777 freighters and sustainable aviation fuel for chartered flight. Route optimization algorithms prioritize slower ocean freight where it's possible to cut emissions without sacrificing reliability. The combination of these technologies doesn't eliminate human expertise. In fact, it amplifies it. Experienced planners, customs specialists, and operations managers sit on top of this tech stack, making race-critical decisions with live data. All industries like manufacturing, retail, pharma, logistic companies, LCL consolidation, multinational freight forwarding, or even family-run logistic companies have a lot to learn from the story of F1 Logistics, the fastest, most complex supply chain on earth. Lesson 1. Treat time like a hard engineering constraint. In F1, the race start time is immovable. This forces team to design backward from a fixed deadline with a clear intermediate milestone and buffers. Many companies treat deadlines as negotiable. F1 shows how performance improves when the lights go out at a fixed time and no excuses. Second lesson. Use multimodal by design, not as a last resort. Instead of defaulting to one mode, F1 deliberately splits freight across sea, air and road by criticality, cost and sustainability. Most supply chains still think mode by mode. The F1 mindset is to design an integrated network where the mix of modes is a strategic decision, not an afterthought. Lesson 3. Standardize and modularize everything you can. By standardizing flight cases, pit boxes and garage layout, F1 makes global deployment almost plug and play. In other industries, standardized SKUs, packaging, pallet and processes reduce errors and training time while enabling automation and faster ramp-ups in new locations. Lesson 4. Build a logistic control tower with a real-time visibility. F1 uses centralized monitoring and live tracking across partners, modes and geographies. Any large supply chain can benefit from similar control tower. That's one place where data from carriers, warehouses, ports and plants come together, enabling early intervention instead of a firefighting after a disruption becomes visible to customers. Next lesson. Design for resilience, not just lean. If F1 only optimized for lowest cost or minimal inventory, the season would collapse after the first unexpected delay. Instead, it holds multiple sea freight kits, maintains contingency options like charter flights and alternate routes. Traditional businesses can apply the same principle. Some redundancy and optionality are not waste. They are insurance against systemic shocks. And remember, cost is not always an expense. Sometimes choosing the faster alternative instead of the lowest cost option is what actually drives growth. Focusing only on L1 or the cheapest rate may save few rupees today, but it can cost a business far more speed, reliability and long-term opportunity. Lesson 6. Make continuous improvement as part of the culture. Every pit stop, every pack down, every route becomes a data point for improvement. Teams do after-action reviews not just for races, but for logistics as well, identifying where they gained or lost time. Imagine if factories, warehouses and transport teams applied the same level of post-event review discipline to their everyday shipments. The improvements would be extraordinary, cutting costs, speeding up operation and driving a far greater profitability. Formula One is often called the pinnacle of motorsport engineering. But behind the scene, it is also a living laboratory for extreme logistics that is time compressed, global, complex and unforgiving. The beauty is that the underlying principles are not exclusive to billion-dollar racing teams. Whether you run a manufacturing plant, a retail network, a family freight forwarding, or an LCL consolidation or digital marketplace, you can borrow F1's playbook. Treat time as non-negotiable, design multi-modal network, standardize ruthlessly, and build real-time visibility and invest in resilience and continuous improvement. In a world where every customer expects a race day reliability, learning from the fastest sport on earth might be one of the smartest things a business can do. If you would like more deep dives into hidden logistics behind global industries, from motorsports to e-commerce, hit subscribe and share this episode with someone who still thinks logistics is just trucks and paperwork. Thank you for watching and see you next time.